Hello! Welcome back to Snacks with Facts. Today for our snack we are making Cheez-its. So homemade Cheez-its. This is something I've never tried before, so hopefully it goes okay. I feel like I say that every time I do something, but it's true. So I have a recipe this was actually a recipe that somebody made that makes like dozens of Cheez-its. I didn't want to make that many Cheez-its, so I cut it down. So I actually have no idea how many Cheez-its we're going to get out of this. But, ingredients. So, what you're going to need, I have some sharp cheddar cheese here. This is 2 ounces, so 2 ounces of sharp cheddar. You need some kosher salt. It's only like a 1/4 teaspoon, so it's not a whole lot. And if you don't have kosher salt, the same amount of just table salt is going to be too salty. So if you're going to use regular table salt, use like half of that amount. Unless you like really salty things, in which case do whatever you want. You also need a tablespoon of butter, which I have in this bowl, and you'll need some ice water, which I don't have sitting in front of me because it's in my freezer because I don't actually have ice at my house, so I just put water in a bowl and stuck it in my freezer so it could get cold. And then you'll need a little flour, and that should be it. We'll be good to go. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to shred my cheese. And while I shred my cheese, I'm going to start sharing facts because this is Snacks with Facts. So, my first fact about Cheez-its is probably one that most people know. Cheez-its come in almost every flavor of cheese that you can think of. There are over 40 different varieties of Cheez-its. The sad part is that you can't normally find most of them at the grocery store, but they do exist. They're out there. I don't know where you buy them, but somewhere somebody has Gouda Cheez-its, which sounds great because I love Gouda. I think it's a really good cheese. And if you didn't notice, I did wear my cheese shirt specifically for this occasion because I thought that would be fun. But once you have your cheese shredded, you're going to just start mixing all of the other ingredients together. And then our dough actually has to rest. So we are going to mix everything together, and then we're going to wrap it in plastic wrap and stick it in the fridge for an hour. And once that hour is up, don't worry, this is not going to be that long of a video. I'm definitely going to pause it and come back to you guys in an hour. But once it's been that hour, then we will come back. We will take our dough out of the fridge, and that's when we'll roll it out and make them look like Cheez-Its. So, there's that. But, let's see, what other facts do I have to share? Oh, here's one. So, it turns out that Cheez-Its are not actually orange because of the cheese. Which is interesting. I didn't know that. I kind of always assumed, like, look how orange this cheese is that I have here. Why wouldn't that be what gives the Cheez-It its color? But it's not. The Cheez-It actually gets its color from something called annatto extract, which is an extract from a seed of I'm going to totally screw up this name, achiote tree, which is a South American tree, and then they extract that color. It's a dye, so it's a food dye. So Cheez-Its actually get their color from a dye made from tree seeds from South America. So that's kind of cool. Strange, but kind of cool. Alright, so I have my cheese shredded in my bowl. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add in my, totally forgot that I need a spatula. Good job, me. But I'm going to add in my butter and scrape it all out of there. Then I'm going to get my kosher salt. So like I said, this is a 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt. If you have a different salt that is not so big, you are going to have to use half. So there's that. And so my salt. Now I need my flour. So it calls for a 1/4 cup of flour. My 1/4 cup measure is missing in action, so I'm going to do 4 tablespoons. 4 tablespoons equals a 1/4 cup. Just a tip. So if you ever, like me, can't seem to find your 1/4 cup measure, 4 tablespoons. Alright, so we've got 4 tablespoons of that in there. So I'm going to go ahead and start mixing all of this, and then the last thing I have to add is my ice water. So I'm going to grab that out of my freezer. Oh, very cold, very cold. Okay, and we only want a half of a tablespoon of this ice cold water. Okay, and so now I'm just going to mix this all together, And then as soon as it's mixed, we are going to wrap it up, and we are going to put it in the fridge for an hour. And then I'll come back and we'll make some Cheez-Its. Hopefully they will turn out well. Hopefully they won't be absolutely terrible, but we'll find out. Apparently one of the concerns is that you can definitely burn the crap out of them, which doesn't surprise me because that's totally why Cheez-Its makes extra toasty Cheez-Its. But anyway, this is mixed, so I'm gonna pause the video and I'll come back in an hour. Well, I'm gonna pause the video, I'm gonna wrap it in plastic wrap, put it in the fridge, and then come back in an hour. All right? All right, so we are back. The dough has been wrapped in plastic wrap and in the fridge for an hour now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to unwrap it and we're gonna roll it out and form our Cheez-Its. So I already turned my oven on. I am preheating it to 375. So that's what we're gonna bake it at. And in front of me right now, I have the dough, obviously. I have a barbecue skewer. This is just for poking the holes in the middle. That is that classic Cheez-It look. I also have a baking tray lined with parchment paper, a knife for cutting them out. I have my rolling pin, and I have flour because I'm going to dust my surface with some flour while I roll it out. So let's get started with the fun part, huh? This got very hard. Harder than I anticipated, I won't lie. Okay. Don't need you anymore. Let's get just a little flour. It probably doesn't need a whole lot because these are really, I don't think it's going to be sticky, but just in case, you know? Okay. And I'm going to make this into a nice ball. And while we do this, I'm going to share some more facts. So, another fact about Cheez-Its is that they actually are not square, which I didn't know. Someone at the library, one of my coworkers knew that. Miss Vicky knew that, and she surprised me by telling me that. But it's true. I need to put a little flour on my rolling pin because it is definitely going to stick to the cheese. But yeah, so they're not actually square. They are technically 26 by 24 millimeters. So they are actually little rectangles. So every time that they say, oh, you just want a little cheesy square of goodness, don't come get a Cheez-It because it is not a square, it's a rectangle. So that's interesting. And my last really good fact about Cheez-Its is that they've been used as a weapon. So there was a case in Florida where a man's wife came home from a concert and he was mad that she went without him, I guess. So he threw a box of Cheez-Its at her and it actually hit her in the eye, and it became like a whole thing. It was an assault case. So Cheez-Its can in fact be used as a weapon other than a weapon of deliciousness. So whenever you're rolling out your Cheez-It dough, you want to get it to about 1/8 of an inch thick. So just keep rolling until you get there. Alrighty. And I think we're almost there. And then after that, we're just gonna, let me just see how thick this looks. Looks good on that side. A little bit, needs to be a little thinner on this other side. So it looks like I'm gonna get at least a dozen Cheez-Its, so that's exciting. That'll be my lunch. Or part of my lunch. Cheez-Its are not a healthy full meal. Don't just eat Cheez-Its for lunch. I mean, you can if you want. It does have, but hey, who am I? Who am I to tell you not to? But I mean, don't. Okay, so I think that my dough is thin enough, so I'm gonna set my rolling pin aside, and I am going to start cutting out my Cheez-Its. Now, this would be so much easier if I owned a pizza cutter. I do not, in fact, own a pizza cutter. So if you have a pizza cutter at home, please use that. I think it would be so much easier. I'm going to go ahead and cut this into little squares. Rectangles. I'm going to cut it into little rectangles. Wow, look at me, already forgetting the facts that I share. Okay, so I have officially cut all of my Cheez-Its out, so now I'm gonna just start stabbing holes in them and putting them on my tray. So I'm actually gonna move that over here so I can reach it. All right. Okay, so all of my Cheez-Its are now on my tray. I did not count. I guess I could count and tell you how many I got. Exactly 60. I got exactly 60 Cheez-Its. So now these are going to go in the oven for about 15 minutes. As soon as it hits a 10-minute time though, I'm going to start watching it really closely because I don't want burnt Cheez-Its. So here we go. Ta-da! It was not quite 15 minutes before they were done. It was actually more like, let's say 13, I think I left them in for 13 minutes. So 13 minutes on 375. And we have some beautiful Cheez-Its. I am kind of scared to try one because I'm worried I'm going to burn myself, but I'll do it for you guys. So let's see. They are really pretty, actually. Very puffy. Definitely puffier than a regular Cheez-It. Can you see that? Very puffy. But it got really nice and crisp feeling. It's still really warm. I don't want to pop it in my mouth and burn myself. So maybe I'll let them cool for a little bit and then we'll try one. Or I'll just blow on it. Ooh. You probably couldn't hear that because my dog is in the background now making all sorts of noise. But it definitely has a nice crunch. That turned out way better than I expected, I won't lie. That's pretty good. Yep. It got really nice and fluffy. It's not nearly as thin and solid feeling as a regular Cheez-It, but this is really it's really nice and puffy. It has like a perfect amount of saltiness. I won't lie, I would probably make these again. Definitely recommend it. Make some Cheez-Its.